Good morning, Year 6. It's Thursday, the 7th of January, 2021. Your LC for today is Can I Write a Balanced Argument? This is your English, of course. The two sections that I would like you to read for this task are Christopher's House and Driving. I'm going to read Christopher's House to you. You can read Driving for yourself. I will put a link to the book itself into the description. Just a note on some of the slang and the language that's used in these parts of the novel. Of course, the novel sits in America, and so there's some slang there that you might not understand. And just to put it into context for you, so you do understand it, it mentions Beecher Prep. So prep is just short for preparatory, just a type of school, preparatory school or prep school. Some of the slang as well, we know, of course, mom and mommy is the Americanized version of mum and mummy. It also mentions in Christopher's House that he was feeling, I'll read it in a moment, but the sentence is, I was really bummed when Christopher moved away 3 years ago. So in the American slang, bummed means that they feel sad about something and down about something. So obviously Oggy feels upset about this in the context of the novel. And also later on in Driving, the family have a joke about Mr. Tushman's name. Now that might not make much sense to us, the joke, but Tush is just another name for your bottom. So that's why they have a laugh about it, and they call him Mr. Tushman and make some comparisons there and jokes about that too. Okay, so Christopher's House. I was really bummed when Christopher moved away 3 years ago. We were both around 7 then. We used to spend hours playing with our Star Wars action figures and dueling with our lightsabers. I miss that. Last spring we drove over to Christopher's house in Bridgeport. Me and Christopher were looking for snacks in the kitchen, and I heard Mom talking to Lisa, Christopher's mum, about my going to school in the fall. I had never ever heard her mention school before. What are you talking about? I said. Mom looked surprised, like she hadn't meant for me to hear that. You should tell him what you've been thinking, Isabel, Dad said. He was on the other side of the living room talking to Christopher's dad. We should talk about this later, said Mom. No, I want to know what you were talking about, I answered. Don't you think you're ready for school, Oggy? Mom said. No, I said. I don't either, said Dad. Then that's it. Case closed, I said, shrugging, and I sat in her lap like I was a baby. I just think you need to learn more than I can teach you, Mom said. I mean, come on, Oggy. You know how bad I am at fractions. What school? I said. I already felt like crying. Beecher Prep, right by us. Wow, that's a great school, Oggy, said Lisa, patting my knee. Well, why not Vian School? I asked. That's too big, Mom answered. I don't think that would be a good fit for you. I don't want to, I said. I admit. I made my voice sound a little babyish. You don't have to do anything you don't want to, Dad said, coming over and lifting me out of Mom's lap. He carried me over to sit on his lap on the other side of the sofa. We won't make you do anything you don't want to. But it would be good for him, Nate, Mom said. Not if he doesn't want to, answered Dad, looking at me. Not if he's ready. Not if he's not ready. I saw Mom look at Lisa, who reached over and squeezed her hand. You guys will figure it out, she said to Mom. You always have. Let's just talk about it later, said Mom. I could tell she and Dad were going to get in a fight about it. I wanted Dad to win the fight, though part of me knew Mom was right. And the truth is, she really was terrible at fractions. So that's the end of Christopher's House. Another point in there as well, it says about going back to school in the fall. That's what the Americans call autumn. So we go back to school in September, and that's the autumn, but the Americans call it fall. So once you've read Driving, we're going to think about writing a balanced argument. So what is a balanced argument? Well, Balanced arguments give you both sides of a discussion point. So the reasons for something and the reasons against it, that's what makes it balanced. And so when we think of a balanced argument, we should always have in our head this idea of pan scales, like in the image there, balancing out. If you give 2 points for something, give 2 points against something, and so on. Now, this is a skill, writing an argument, that will continue and follow you right through into secondary school and beyond. It's a really good skill to have. So firstly, should Augie go to school? Give yourself a couple of minutes just to think about the reasons for and against. Now, you could jot those down as notes in your book. Just short bullet pointed notes will be fine for this. Like we do in class, don't go into too much detail when you're writing a plan or notes. There's no need to, just some notes, because later on you're going to develop those ideas. You can pause the video at this point. Okay, finding two sides of an argument and empathizing with the side that you disagree with is really important. It's important for adults to do as well, not just in writing, but also in discussions and understanding one another and coming to agreements. You've got to use evidence to support those arguments. So why should Augie go to school? Should Augie go to school? And if you think so, don't just say yes, don't just say no. Give evidence from the novel. Why should he? And also from, you could bring in your own experience as well. Why is it good that he goes to school? We're going to use some connectives. I'll show you some words in a moment that we can use to help us in our writing. You're trying to use an impersonal voice. So this is a skill in itself. You're not writing as if you are talking. You're going to use an impersonal voice which sets out the argument for something and against something clearly. So how should we start our balanced debate then? Well, let's think of an introduction together. Here's a waggle, what a good one looks like. School is an important part of all children's lives. It develops children's ability to read and write, improves general knowledge, and improves social skills. But is school the right place for Augie? Will his social skills really develop, or will his confidence, self-esteem, and pride be knocked? So you notice in there, you know that school is an important place for you. But coming back to this idea of writing it impersonally, you wouldn't say, I believe, or in my experience, school is important. You might just write, school is an important part of all children's lives, and that's an important and fair enough point to actually make. It's true that school develops your ability to read and write. So you can write it develops children's ability to read and write. So try and be impersonal about it. In there, we have a couple of skills as well. We have the use of a colon, which we've been looking at. So the idea is you write something, the colon, and then whatever follows the colon confirms, backs up, and is related to what has just been written before then. We've also got some uses of rhetorical questions. Rhetorical questions are really useful in making the reader question their own ideas. And also in there with self-esteem. So we have use of hyphens, which we're going to be looking at in spelling. So we have our introduction, sets out what the argument is about, the reason for Augie attending school, the reasons against Augie attending school, and then a closing statement about what you actually think. So our expectation is that one full page, 4 paragraphs, that's a minimum, not a maximum, that's a minimum. With an argument, you should be able to do that. Now, we talked about connectives before. These words are going to help us link our ideas, and this is some of the language that we might use to make comparisons. So they're all there for you. Also, furthermore, however, but, although, on the other hand, in spite of this, because, in comparison, alternatively, other than, except, these can be used to compare and contrast.